Blue, blue, blue moon, shining over the blue, blue sea. Less wet. Too wet. It's too wet. Let's make that a little less wet. Less wet. Less wet. Less. There. No, a little less wet. Yeah. There it goes. How's that? Is that better? Okay. See, it's too wet. What number is that on? What number of wetnesses? There's no numbers. Well, is it halfway up, or halfway down, or a quarter way? It's halfway up. Okay. It's a little too much. Still a little too much. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it sounds like, this is Cousin Brucey broadcasting from New York City. Blue, blue, blue moon, shining over the blue, blue sea. I'll be blue too, till you come back to me. Now, that's the way a lot of moms feel. That's the way a lot of moms feel when they have given up their child to adoption.
I can't imagine.
I'll be blue, too, until you come back to me. Now, my nephew, James, is on the line. His mother, his natural mother, is my friend. For years, when I was just a little 14, 15-year-old, she ended up dating my brother. They lived together for a year back in 1969. The year that Linda, myself, my brother, and a few of my other buddies would go to Woodstock. Well, I had no idea. No one ever told me there was a consequence to their living together. And that consequence is on the phone. There he is, live and in person. Hello, Mr. Consequence. And he's been he's already a terrific blessing, and I've already fallen in love with James. He's my brother's son. Nothing I wouldn't do for him. My brother's grandsons are his sons, Luke and Jimmy. And, of course, the way I found out that he existed was he contacted his half-sister, which was also my brother's daughter, which he never confirmed. He thought he had a daughter somewhere in the world, and she contacted us after I lost my brother on 911. So it's been craziness. And they also have Elijah and Jonah, and they are my grandsons, too. So my brother had 4 beautiful grandsons that he never knew existed, a son and a daughter. Pretty amazing. And now Uncle Rhett is left with a family, and I've been giving the honorable name of Uncle Rhett. Right, James?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm tickled about it. I wish I could be up in Connecticut with you today visiting. And anyway, we're talking about adoption, ladies and gentlemen, and the feelings that these people get. On the line, we have Lynn Johansson, who's also Renee Gellen. And I'm still confused why you have 2 different names, though. Could you explain that to my listeners?
Yeah. So initially, when I started reaching out and everything, I didn't necessarily want to have my life, my past life. There's kind of a before and after, so to speak.
Yeah.
That old me really died. I'm not that person anymore.
I mean, the person that gave up your 6-year-old boy?
Previous to that, I'm not that person anymore.
Okay.
That person died.
Yeah.
I literally went through a transformation after that, and no one can prepare you for that.
Okay, what's the difference? Not a big, long-winded thing, but this is very vague to us listening on the outside. Who do you think you were succinctly, and now who do you think you are now?
Good question. So before, I was a mom. I was a career lady, had it together, single parent, doing well, very independent on my own, and really didn't. I had a good life. I had a great life. I was doing well in my job. My daughter and I were doing well. I had a business that went under. I survived that. Came back on my feet. I usually was always the type of person that could land on my feet.
Good for you.
I always moved across the country. all of my family is back in the Midwest. I'm the one who's out moving and doing my thing. And
well, that's
I have my
wonderful because
daughter.
most people, they don't teach in schools that success is falling forward.
Yes.
What was that?
Yes.
We need to embrace.
I don't know.
We need to embrace the failures.
Right. And really, I was just always that person that landed on my feet. But this losing my son, this one knocked me down. This one knocked me down and changed me forever. And
Well, apparently there was a glitch in your armor. They call it a hole in your Achilles heel, and he came along at the right circumstances. So you gave up your next child. Was he the son of the man you now married to, or no?
He is.
Okay. So you've given him.
Yeah.
Now you both must be living in regret that this boy is not in the household.
100%. Absolutely.
Oh my God! Well,
Absolutely.
so now some people, of course, are going to be listening to this, going, "Well, you shouldn't have done that," and I'm angry with you for doing that. By the way, which is your real name, the Lynn or the Renee?
Renee. Renee is my name in real life.
Okay, so now you're moving forward. You're willing to come forward publicly, and for now, henceforth, with the name Renee Jellin, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the transition is because what's happening is, after I started reaching out with support six and a half years ago, looking for people and finding people and really finding that support, I'm starting to get my footing again. And the way that I've done that is to pretty much start helping mothers who were in the shoes that I was in, 7 years ago, trying to figure out how can I do this. I like I said, had lost faith in myself, was just overwhelmed with single parenting as it was. My relationship with my now husband back then was new, and it was scary. I was scared, and nobody was able to sit next to me and say, you know what, it's going to be okay. You're already a mom. You will figure it out. And what happened was I ended up in a moment of huge weakness. I reached out to an adoption agency. And when you connect with an adoption agency, you will end up with an adoption.
Because that's their business, so they see
exactly.
They see the money.
Right.
You got it. My son was a commodity.
Yeah.
And it didn't. They knew that I did not want to do this. I did not.
Well, they did. How did they know?
I did not pick parents. They were constantly on me to look at these books, look at these profiles, pick somebody. You need to pick somebody.
Now, on their behalf. I know we're all corrupted by money. We're all corrupted by money. I mean, the worst thing that could happen to me is for Jesus to say when I get to heaven that, I told you about the cares of this world, choke off some people from knowing God and having the love of God, and therefore will be annihilated for eternity. And I worry about that because we're all seduced by this need. We're all, we all get in these ruts, and I can see, okay, I own an adoption agency. You've come to me. All I'm going to think is adoption. Another $40,000. We need that $40,000 to pay the rent next month. Adoption.
Exactly.
And so we see people, and this is what's wrong with our society in general today. People are making food that has, preservatives in it that they would never give their own child. And this is, if we need a spiritual awakening. And and for those who don't want to call it a spiritual awakening, let's have a moralistic awakening. For God's sake, let's stop killing each other. And you can't even buy a T-shirt. I bought a bunch of T-shirts for a business recently, and guess what? They all fell apart in the washing machine. Yeah, they were only $1 each, and of course I'm to blame for wanting to buy them cheap, and they're to blame for selling me so cheap, but not letting me know that they're going to fall apart. So there's nobody that's guilt-free in this whole cycle. Am I correct about that?
Oh yeah, I definitely have my part. My husband, we all basically have this, but what we don't have is somebody out there who is connecting with people saying, you know what, I can help you. And so that's what I started doing.
Well, there are pregnancy agencies. Like I know we have one in town here, and it's to help where girls can go, because I understand that what's the place that everybody's upset about that our tax dollars go to help?
Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood. And they don't generally give what I've been told is they do not give an option. They don't really teach an option. The number one option they give you is abortion. And how do you guys who are adoptees and adopters, how do you feel about that group, that Planned Parenthood group, that government-run group?
Well, I've used Planned Parenthood services in the past when I was in between jobs. So for me, it was my fallback health care when I didn't have insurance.
Now, what does that mean?
So,
I mean that they gave you contraceptives, or what you mean it's beyond that?
I went in for annual checkups. I went in for, any kind of common situations if I ended up,
So it sounds like they were trying to be good people too, but then they got corrupted by selling body parts to keep the rent paid, right?
Yeah, I have not delved into all of that. I've heard that, but
it's a fact.
I don't know.
We caught those ladies talking about it on mic, so we know that that's a fact. But like again, I'm not going to take a wide brush and say, these people are all evil. They're not. And most of us are not. We get corrupted along the way. Do I think that my tax dollars should go to any organization that I don't approve of moralistically? Absolutely not. And that's my privilege as an American citizen. My money should not be going to women's abortions, because for me, I believe in, I know James doesn't believe this, and maybe you don't, but I believe in the Bible. The Bible says if I see evil and I don't try to correct it, the blood will be on my hands. And the God in the Bible says if you see evil and you try to correct it, even if you fail, then the blood is not on your hands. So for me, I've got to stand for the life. I want people to live. I don't want people to commit suicide either. Every time we lose a youngster right now, the number one people committing suicide in America today are 15 to 18-year-old girls. And I had friends, I won't say who, in this town, they just lost their granddaughter. She was beautiful. She was a straight-A student. She took her life at 16. It's a horror. Why?
Horrible.
Oh my God.
And you know who's very overrepresented in suicides? Adoptees.
Did they commit suicide often? Why? Because they feel alienated?
Because of the primal wound.
Yeah.
Because of the trauma that they suffered.
And you're right. It's right. That's why we all need such forgiveness. Even me, this is the mayor of the airways. I have to be honest. Sometimes I feel like I've broken my covenant with God to the point where he doesn't love me. And when I think that he doesn't love me, that sin separates me. And then I'm prone to just say, well, you're no longer my Abba, Papa, Father because of what I've done, because I'm sure you can't forgive me for these things I've done. And then unless you get a jolt of lightning from heaven above that says, no, my son, you are forgiven, then all of a sudden everything changes, and then you want to go, oh, I'm forgiven? Well, let me go out and love others and help others. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand where an adoptee feels the rejection, the abandonment. I know what it's like to be abandoned. Not only did my father die when I was 5, but I had alcohol. Everybody around me was a damn alcoholic till I was 15. I had to be the adult. So I know a little bit of what you've gone through. I'm not saying my pain is as severe as yours, but I can't imagine what it's like to wake up and find out, I was not wanted.
Well, everyone's got their own stories and their own pain.
Yeah.
But you need to realize, too, we talk about anti-adoption, and Renee is talking about what she went through. You have to, adoption needs to be totally reformed, and the profit motivation has to be out of the equation. This should not be done for the benefit of money.
No,
exactly. And you said something there. It's the whole premise. If you think about it, you just said something that was very key. An adoptee grows up feeling not wanted, and even though I'm the saint for choosing adoption, that adoptee still feels that. So, and that's not true. I wanted my son.
Well, then why couldn't you change it?
I wanted him.
You changed what?
Because I was completely overwhelmed, and it's impossible to explain hormones and crisis and feeling overwhelmed. I can't explain it to you. You'll never understand.
But if you made that decision, but these people, I understand. But these people didn't do anything wrong then by adopting, because you didn't come to your senses until after he was gone, right?
Not true. I don't feel that's the case. Okay. I feel that they had one goal in mind, and that one goal in mind was to cash that check. So
yeah, it's kind of like I was with the doctor yesterday. He's Dr. Steinfeld. He's been a sponsor of my show for years. He's an extraordinarily gifted orthopedic surgeon who loves what he does. This I know. I've known this man for years. But I was surprised when I went in to see him a year ago. I thought I was going to have an operation on my knee. It shocked me that he chose something alternative, and within 2 months it was healed. He lost a business deal, because I no longer needed the surgery. Now, and that is honor. And these people, you're right, these people should come forward and say, "Now, you sure? Are you sure?" In other words, honor should be above money.
Right. So, and that's exactly what I ended up doing. So over the course of time, as I started reaching out to people, I started realizing, you know what? I have to do something. If they did this to me, if they lied to me and sent me down this path, and they knew my situation, they knew my financial situation, they knew I was a parent, they knew I was successful, I was employed, I was living in a home, I was not living under a bridge, I was not doing drugs, I was not the typical, which you touched on earlier. You kind of made that generalization of, people walking down the street. That's not who's doing this today. That's not who's doing this today. I'll tell you who's doing it today. It's women who are already parents, who are overwhelmed, who may or may not be doing it alone, but who are feeling hopeless. And that was me. Now, I make over 6 figures a year. I did not need to lose my son. I bounced back because that's who I am. And they still went down the path of pick a family. Here's the books, pick a family. And finally, I couldn't get the cash price down to where I needed it to be. I couldn't negotiate enough. And 12 days before he was born, I picked them. Mm-hmm. And I'm here today.
And the agency knew exactly what to tell you so that you would surrender your child. They have it scripted.
And they knew exactly what not to tell me. That's the most important thing for me.
Interesting.
They know how to befriend you. They know how to get your relationship built with these prospective adoptive parents. They know how to hook you. They know. It's a business. It's what they do. Remember, I'm a business analyst. I figured it out. I know exactly what they do today. I know how they do it.
Okay.
Take it over.
All right. Mm-hmm.
So what I ended up doing was starting to reach out and talk to other moms, just finding them on the internet. So, and connecting with other women who've lost children to adoption, connecting with other adoptees, hence my connection with James and many others, and also even some adoptive parents who have experienced the trauma and the loss that is really what adoption is based off of. And they understand that really family preservation is really the way to go. If you can prevent an unnecessary adoption and help that mother through her crisis, all I needed was a month or two.
You both have given an insight what it's like from both sides, and we're going to have to end the show right now, but I'll tell you, we're most grateful, and our listeners have learned so much from you. So thank you both. Rhett had a quick appointment, and he was on his way, but we have been very appreciative of what you had to offer to the public. Thank you.